Hi, I'm Debbie Clement-Large, and I wanted to talk about going with the flow and becoming a surfer in life. So, life can be really interesting sometimes. Have you ever been on a lazy river? There's something just wonderful about being on a lazy river. You're just floating around, just allowing the current to take you, feeling supported, feeling relaxed, enjoying yourself. Maybe, you've experienced that when you've been on holiday or even in a local pool. Some of them have little lazy rivers, which is quite nice. And that feels really good. And it feels lovely when life is a bit like that. But then there are other times when life feels like you're not just going through the rapids, it's like a tsunami of stuff suddenly appears. And it can be like not just the blanket or the rug that you stood on is pulled out from under your feet, but like the whole foundations of safety, of who you think you are, of how life appears, just kind of shatters underneath your feet. And it's amazing how it can just shift just in a moment. Sometimes it can just, change happen slowly, and other times it can just be instantaneous. And for me, in experiencing a lot of this stuff going on at the moment, for a long time, life was a bit of a calm, lazy river, felt nice. And then in the last 6 months, there's been more of the flowing with the rapids, really hanging on, being bashed about. You imagine going down the rapids on a boat, and you're knocking against the rocks, and you're getting splashed, and you're getting, you're holding on, and sometimes some of it goes in a blur, and you don't know what's happening when, or and it feels like you're at the mercy of the river rather than necessarily being able to steer it. But of course, if you're experienced in riding the rapids on a boat, you kind of know how to maneuver it. But when it's your first chance going down this particular river and you're in a boat you don't know, you do feel like you're at the mercy of the river and the speed and just the volume of water that's coming down and just pushing you down in all these different directions. And you can't stop, you can't get out. You might want to get out. You might think, a bit like a fairground ride. You might want to just I want to stop it all now. I just want to get out. I don't want this ride on the river anymore. And life's a bit like that sometimes. We want things in a particular way, that lazy river, because that feels like our foundation. We're used to it. It feels comfortable. It's in our comfort zone, and that feels fine. And yet other times when we start even going in the rapids, suddenly that foundation is gone. We can't put our feet down anymore because the power of the water is just sweeping the feet from under us. So how do we cope with that? How do we manage with that? And sometimes you want to call for help. Sometimes you want to, as I said, get out, run away. I don't think you would be alone if you hadn't thought that at some point. You just kind of want to escape what's going on. But I'm seeing everything that kind of goes on in the period of being in the rapids as spiritual growth. It is time for looking at yourself in a way that maybe you never would have done so before. I can remember one of my spiritual teachers once telling me, you can't control, Debbie, you can't have life according to you. And it was true. And I didn't even realize I wanted it according to me, but I did. At a subconscious level, everything was lining up in a particular way and things were being done in a particular way because it helped me to feel safe. But suddenly when you're in the rapids and you're in this boat and you're clinging onto the ropes around the boat or the paddle or just boom against the rocks and try not to fall out, it's that lack of steering. There's no control. You're just going. And sometimes it's letting go, it's surrendering, it's coming back to presence, it's coming back to actually there is so much more within you than everything that is going on around. Just because everything is so busy, if you can come back to that sense of presence, if you can come back to that sense of calmness, if you can just love yourself anyway and accept yourself, that this too shall pass in this moment, that this moment is what it is, and that I don't need to change it. I can change and do something different in the next moment, but I can accept what is right here, right now. And if I can accept what is, if I can come back to a state of presence, if I can let go of the struggle, if I can let go of that fight, and if I can feel more peace, and when others around are unhappy, if I can send them love, and if I can send myself love, we can feel a greater sense of acceptance, that even in that boat in the rapids, there is a gift. There is a gift of the experiencing that particular journey and that moment. What is that gift? How can I use that gift? And how can I let go of the struggle in trying to steer the boat in one particular way when the waves and the current want to take me in another? How can I find a sense of peace and presence with that? How can I stop fighting? How can I stop fighting life? How can I find that sense of being in a lazy river yet when I'm on the rapids? And there is something wonderful when you can learn to do that, when you can just come back to that presence and enjoy the ride on the rapids, even if it's not a ride that you wanted or bargained for or even ordered for yourself, but it's just shown up in that way. And there is great learning, great peace, and a great gift that can come out of that situation if you look for it. So instead of looking for which rocks are next, how awful it is that I'm going down these rapids, I'm feeling seasick, I don't like this journey, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling fearful, which we can all do when we're facing a situation like that. But how can we see that we're in a boat, that maybe there are other people in that boat with us that are more skilled, that the current is taking us downstream, and downstream there will be that place where the rapids peter out, that they become calmer. And I will enjoy the scenery, if I can, as I'm heading down that river, that I may become stronger physically, emotionally, mentally, for holding on because of that journey. So there is a gift somewhere in each and every situation, no matter how challenging, how difficult it might be. Maybe have a look for your gift today in whatever's going on for you, because there's something to know in each moment. And when we can turn from the tragedy or the difficulty or the struggle, when we can turn from that and look to see the possibilities, the opportunity, even if it's just to come back to presence, even if it's just to accept yourself a little more, even if it's just to love yourself a little more, even if it's just to see the world in a different perspective and to learn to see it that way, which you may never have done had it not been for this journey. That's a gift, and that gift can be treasured, and it can help you to move in a way that's and experience new things moving forward that you would never have experienced or known about otherwise. So see life today in a gift. Each moment is a gift, and that's why they call it the presence. So bring yourself back to that presence. That's who you really are, that essence of love, that essence of peace, that essence of joy. You are not the turmoil. You may be experiencing it, but you're not it. You're much, much more than that. So enjoy your day, whether you are on the lazy river or whether you're riding the rapids, and know that in each moment, no matter how you feel and what you're thinking, this too shall pass, and you can lovingly bring yourself back to presence.